Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Kyle Dezotell from Tufts. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Dezotell can be a handful to fit those two
Well,
in.
and then I
I
said Coach, and then I need more coffee today, I think. Anyway. Well, let's talk a little bit about the recruiting side of things for you. We were just talking beforehand. You were down here in Bradenton for the IMG Boys Showcase not too long ago. So right now, in terms of your recruiting process, I'm guessing you're looking more at 24s, or you still got a couple 23s left. Kind of what is your calendar in terms of year to year when you're recruiting?
yeah, we end up at Tufts University and sort of, I think a lot of the very high academic level ends up being pretty early recruiting process. Very I think more in line with like the Division Ones than a lot of Division Three. I've been at every other level of Division Three, and I know that this time of year you're still potentially trying to bring in a guy or two at most Division Three schools. For us, we do most of our recruiting through the early decision process, and so our 2023 class, for all intents and purposes, has been done for nearly 5 or 6 months now. So we're fully on to 2024s, starting to identify 2025s a little bit, but this is the heavy window for 2024s. We have a rule in our league in the NESCAC where we're not allowed to find out any information in terms of admissions and pre-reads and things until July 1. The entirety of the NESCAC has a July 1 admissions pre-read rule. So prior to July 1, it's just about identifying players and finding players of interest and guys that we would be interested in. And then after July 1, we can start to submit admissions information and transcripts and such to our admissions folks, and then find out if kids are admissible or not. And then, the summer becomes a heavy period for us of kind of getting our class. But most of our class ends up being, for committing in like July, August, and September in general.
Okay. Well, in terms of your recruiting process, I mean, I know those NESCAC schools, such high academic schools, I'm sure there's a lot of interest. So, how much, inbound communication do you think you get from prospects, on an average weekly basis?
Yeah. Too much to handle. um, it's certainly a good thing. And again, like I've been at every level of Division Three, from schools where you sign up to register to go to whatever the Jefferson Cup, and you get 3 emails from kids. To now, we often choose not to sign up and register to attend tournaments because we'll get 300 emails from kids. And so a little bit of both. We certainly try to pay as much attention as we can to the incoming emails, and we get a lot of coaches that call and text and email about players they have. But in the end, it ends up being, if we were to just try to watch all the players that reached out to us, we'd be chasing shadows. We'd be watching 10 minutes of this game and 10 minutes of that game and flying from field to field. So more, we pay attention as much as we can. When an email has a highlight video, we certainly try to watch it and see if there's something that stands out about a player, or, they play for a specific team that we know is a good team in a certain area of the country or whatnot. But we, more or less, when we're going to an event, like, we're going to identify our own players, just because the volume is, it's unbelievable at this level. And again, I'm fortunate to be here, and it's a good problem to have, but 500 plus emails every week from
Wow.
recruits.
Wow. Well, we mentioned IMG Cup and Jefferson Cup, and if you look at your roster, you kind of have a very geographically diverse roster. So what are some of the must-hit events that you and your staff try to get to each year to help identify those players that you've talked to?
Yeah, I think for us, we're going to every big MLS Next event. We're going to every big ECNL event. And then we're piecing a couple other events together. This does not mean that there aren't great players that play in other leagues and for other teams that aren't MLS Next or aren't ECNL, or maybe they're multi-sport athletes that don't even play club soccer, and like they're still the outliers. And to me, like I was a two-sport athlete, and there were parts of the year where I didn't play soccer, and so I still believe you can be a college able soccer player with a different path than playing MLS Next or playing ECNL. MLS Next and the ECNL just kind of do a lot of the filtering for us. It tends to be a lot of the better players do play in those two, kind of under those two acronyms. And, we end up spending a fair amount of our time recruiting in those avenues. But if there are players outside of those avenues, we certainly are still trying to find them. It ends up often being guys come through our camps and clinics in the spring and summer because we just can't be everywhere, as much as you want to be. You simply can't be everywhere as a coach or as a staff.
No, for sure. Well, one of the things that has kind of proliferated through college soccer these days is the transfer portal. And I'm just curious, at a school like yours that does have that high academic criteria, does that come into play at all in your recruiting processes?
Very, very little. We certainly we look at the transfer portal, but it's more of a dream because the reality is at this type of school. I mean, I'll share a story. Like we're trying to get a transfer right now for this next season, and we won't know until May if it's even a possibility, because at that point, Tufts University will decide how many transfers they're going to take in general in the whole student population, whether they take any. Who knows if they're 35,000 applications these days for like 1,500 freshman spots. So, and I know we over enrolled last year. So like, will we take transfers this year? I think we normally do, but I would guess, I don't know the numbers, but I think Tufts University as a whole, like we're not bringing in 400 transfers as a university. We're probably bringing in 10 or 15. And so then you're just fingers crossed, hoping your athletic director is told, he can bring in a few, and you hope yours is one of those few that he chooses. And so it is still a small part potentially. And we're still, we'll still go down that route, but it's not a big thing in our world. We did just have a player, our starting goalkeeper for the last 2 years, just transferred to the University of New Hampshire. So it does sort of work that way. Again, we're not like, I know there are some D3s that like bring kids in for a couple of years and kind of push them on to Division Ones, and that's not really how it works here. Like very few kids would leave a school like Tufts University. But for this player, he wanted to chase a Division One dream, and he transferred to a top 20 Division One men's soccer program. We'll see how he does. But we certainly, if that's a path that someone wants to take, we want the best for the kid. So it does happen, but it's more of a rarity than an everyday occurrence.
Sure. Well, in terms of the players that you do bring in, obviously for you guys, academics and making sure they can get admitted is kind of priority one. But after that, once you've said, okay, this is somebody who we think will get admitted and can be part of the school, what is your hierarchy of things that you're looking for, whether it's on the field stuff or off the field stuff?
Yeah. The academic side and the admission side is certainly something that is always in our minds. I think you'd be surprised how many really smart kids there are out there, actually, and pleasantly surprised. And while there's a large number of kids that just like we can't look at because we can't get them in, I'm more and more impressed every time I go recruiting with how many kids actually can like fit the bill and how smart they are. And kudos to them and their families for bringing them up really well and then taking school so seriously and being really smart. As far as what we're looking for, at our level, we want to compete to win the NESCAC, which we believe is, one of, if not the best Division III soccer conference in the country. We want to compete to win national championships in Division III. We're never going to always do both of those things or either of those things, but we always want to be in the conversations to compete for both of those. I think in terms of what we're looking for in soccer players, we're looking for competitive drive is a big one. I think the players that really pan out here are just incredibly intrinsically motivated guys who have a really big competitive engine and competitive desire and want to compete for championships and for trophies. We look for soccer players to play for our program. You have to have a certain level of technical soccer ability. We're a team that plays, and it seems sometimes like it can be seen as like a dirty word, but like we also look for athletes. Like athleticism is important in college soccer. The game has relatively unlimited substitutions. It's played at breakneck speed. Set pieces, both sides of with and without the ball, set pieces, attacking and defending, are really critical in college soccer. So you need a certain level of athleticism to be successful. Those are a few of the things that we look for when we're out on the recruiting trail.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. You guys are right outside Boston there. It is, as we've said before, high academic institution. You've been there for a couple seasons now. So what are some of the awesome things about Tufts that maybe we're not going to find out just by clicking through the website?
Yeah, I mean, Tufts has grown so much in the last decade. We compete in the NESCAC, which is an amazing Division III conference in many and nearly all sports. Are some of the best Division III teams in the country compete in the NESCAC. I think something that makes Tufts just very impressive recently is we were just able to win the last Directors Cup. So we've been like a top 10, top 20, NCAA Division III Directors Cup school for the last couple of decades anyway. But things have really, really improved and increased and competitive levels here at Tufts in recent years. And the 2021-2022 year was the first year that Tufts had ever won the Directors Cup. So we were seen as, we were rewarded with the cup, and ultimately that's to recognize the best athletic institution in the country in Division III. And so really, really special, something we're really proud of. We obviously, we take a lot of pride in our men's soccer program, but we also take pride in our entire athletic department. And it's, I think something that, recruits and families ask, like, what makes this place special? When I come to work, in general, most of the teams here win a lot. In general, most of the teams are really competitive. In general, most of the teams are competing for NESCAC championships and competing in NCAA tournaments. And it's a fun environment to be in when your own program is in that world, but also all the other teams. And you walk down the hallway, and I'm in this horseshoe of coaches hallway here, and most of the teams have a lot of success, and we work really hard to achieve that success, and our student athletes work really hard to keep achieving that success. But it's just a fun environment for a coach to be part of. But I think more importantly, obviously, is a really fun environment for student athletes to be part of. You're part of an athletic department, part of a student athlete body where people are chasing national championships and chasing NESCAC championships and chasing wins. And just it's a really hardworking group of people. And I feel very fortunate to be part of it individually, but it's a really hardworking group of people that want to achieve everything they possibly can athletically, while still pursuing everything that they possibly can from an academic standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. Our students go study abroad. Most of them study abroad their junior year, and so they do a lot of things outside of the athletic realm. But that doesn't deter any of them or any of us from trying to compete to win national championships.
No, that's fantastic. Well, you just kind of mentioned it a little bit, but how do your student athletes kind of balance the rigors of both the academic side of things and the athletic side of things, and what kind of support systems does a school have in place to help them with that?
Yeah, I always tell recruits and families, we don't do study halls. We don't mandate like team study halls on Tuesday nights or anything like that, because again, I feel very fortunate about this. Like, we don't have to, because our kids are so smart. They're a lot smarter than I am. They can do some incredible things in the classroom. We certainly help and mentor our student athletes, and it's not that everyone on our team gets a perfect 4.0 by any means. But I think we have some really great support services at Tufts University for our entire student population. And I think, as far as like our coaching staff in our program, we academically monitor all of our first years and anyone that needs help beyond that. But again, it's like our team GPA the last year was a 3.62. And most of these guys are either economics majors or engineers or pre-med, and I can certainly help them with time management and things. But as far as truly mentoring them in the subjects that they're studying, I'd be lost as much as anyone. So they're incredible kids basically, and they are really, really smart. And I think what makes it so special is while they want to win national championships and compete to win national championships, they also want to do as well as they can do academically, and they want to pursue internships between, their sophomore and junior year and their junior and senior year, and they're going to end up in Boston or New York City or LA, between those semesters. While they're pursuing either graduate school or their potential to hop into the job market upon graduation. And again, they're going to do all of this while still getting themselves ready to be incredibly competitive college soccer players.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's go back to the fall and kind of take me through what an average week for a player is going to look like, in terms of when are they getting up, when's practice, class, meals, the kind of the game cadence and travel and all that kind of stuff. What does a week look like for a player?
Yeah, we always tell players, a week at whatever level you're at, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAI, it's going to be busy in the fall soccer season. And in general, they're going to look pretty similar kind of regardless of the level, right? And that's something our kids have to deal with because they're going to be enrolled in really difficult classes, and you don't get any benefits by being a student athlete. And you're not allowed to miss classes. There's no men's soccer tutors or anything like that for our kids. And so, a typical week is, we're usually on a two game schedule. So, say typically a Wednesday and a Saturday. And so for us, Monday training, Monday lift, Monday potential film from the game on the weekend. Tuesdays, often a pregame day. And so maybe a little bit lighter of a practice and probably some film and some scouting report stuff for the opponent you're going to play on Wednesday. Wednesday is obviously a game day. We're fortunate with our location. Many of the best Division 3 schools in the country are in New England and in the Northeast. And so for us, for a non-conference game, for example, we don't have to get on a bus to go find like a top 25 or top 50 Division 3 team 4 hours away. We can drive 20 minutes to Babson or 30 minutes to MIT, or so we don't have to travel too much, which helps out from our, certainly from an academic perspective, that our kids aren't missing tons of classes. So Wednesday's game day. If we can play at night in midweek, we try to, so the kids can go to as many classes as possible, while we're home or away. Thursday is usually a recovery day, potentially some film from the game on Wednesday. The group that played a lot, in reality isn't doing too much on Thursday. The group of guys that maybe didn't play as much, maybe less than 30 minutes or so, we might push it with them a little bit more in training on Thursday. Friday, you're quickly into another pregame day, and so training's pretty light. Some guys may lift. Saturday game day, and then typically, the NCAA mandates that you take one day off a week, and for us, Sunday is usually our day off. We occasionally in the NESCAC play these wild Saturday, Sunday doubleheader back-to-back weekends, and so that can change. But typically Sunday is our day off. But it certainly ends up being a busy heavy week. 2 games, 2 to 4 training sessions. You're probably lifting once or twice. You're probably in watching film of our games twice. Probably film of the opponents we're about to play twice. Our film sessions are short. Like we're not keeping kids in a room to watch 90 minutes anymore. That was 20 years ago when you and I were athletes, and now we're like 20 minutes in and out, because I just think that's where we're headed in terms of attention span and where people can focus and pay attention. So, but it ended up being heavy. And again, our kids here are taking, 14 to 18 credits in really difficult majors, and obviously continuing to do really well academically. But the fall is heavy. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team and the soccer side of things. In terms of your roster, is there a roster size that you feel is ideal that you're trying to hit every year?
Yeah, COVID has made that tough. I personally want to be below 30. I think when you start to get above 30, just college soccer is different. Like you can play, I think one of the things that makes our program really special is our depth, and that's made Tufts successful over the years and made us able to compete for national championships. Is we feel like our second 11 is as good as anybody's second 11 in the country. And our depth is certainly something that we take a lot of pride in. While we, like there is a starting 11, there also isn't a starting 11 in college soccer, because at the end of a half you may have 8 subs on the field, and so who really cares who started? And but I think yeah, I think that is something that makes our program special, is the depth of the program. And we're going to continue to recruit at as high of a level as possible. COVID has made things interesting because you're having, the first year we had 7 guys come back for an extra year. This last year I think we had 4 guys come back for an extra year. Next year we have 3 guys coming back. The following year will be the last year of it. So there's 2 more seasons, 2023 and 2024, the last 2 seasons that it will affect, I believe. And I think we'll probably have 2 or 3 guys in 2024 that come back. So we've been above 30. We've been in like the 33, 34, 35 range. So I'm hopeful, after we get through the kind of the COVID years, and then we're being just a little bit more intentional in our recruiting. And so I took over the job only 3 years ago, so I wanted to put my stamp on the program and bring in some recruiting classes and such. But like this year we're only going to bring in 7 guys. Like we're going to max out at 7 guys, because I think just getting the roster down to below 30 would be very valuable.
What about your staff? How many of them are there besides yourself? What role does everybody play? What does that look like?
Yeah, I have a great staff. I'm super fortunate. We have a full-time assistant and a part-time assistant. We're lucky to have a paid part-time assistant job. So in Division 3, to have kind of 2 paid positions is a full-time and a paid part-time assistant are just very valuable. On top of that, we have a volunteer assistant. We have a great athletic trainer and athletic training staff here at Tufts, and then your strength conditioning staff in our universities. We have strength conditioning coaches that work with all of our teams. And so overall, I think as far as like what a Division 3 soccer program could have in terms of staff, we have it as good as it can possibly be. And I'm really lucky to have the staff that we have, and I'll keep pushing for them. And obviously, and we want to keep increasing jobs and salaries and things in Division 3. It's something I believe in, actually, in our profession. So I'm an advocate for those guys and for our staff as well.
Right there with you. Well, in terms of your style of coaching, team style of play, what does that kind of look like for your team?
Yeah, I think my style of coaching is just setting really high standards. I'm not a yeller or a screamer. I'm just about, we're going to do things at a really high level, and that's going to be the expectation. And you're either going to meet those expectations and standards or you're not. We very, very much here have a player-driven culture, which I think is something that makes our program special. Our players, they know what they want to compete for. They know that they want to compete for NESCAC championships, and they want to compete for NCAA national championships. And fortunately, we've had players who have done both of those things. And so we're able to kind of understand and pass down to the younger players, like what it actually takes, and to compete at those levels. I think my coaching style is, again, just setting high standards, and putting the guys in an environment where they can thrive. And then our players, we want to be a high pressing team. We're a high energy team. We want to get after teams. We want to run. We want to press. We want to play in the opponent's half as much as possible, with and without the ball. We know that set pieces are incredibly crucial in Division 3 soccer, and certainly in the NESCAC, set pieces are really, really important for on both sides of the ball. And so we take pride in defending set pieces. We take pride in attacking set pieces. Again, like, not a dirty word. I think that's like, set pieces become like another dirty word. That's part of the game. And I don't know, large percentage of the goals are scored on set pieces. And so if we can win the set piece battle, we feel like we'll be in the right positions that we need to be in at the end of the season. But we pride ourselves on having fun too. I think that's something that I always joke that I went to Middlebury College, like a really great school, and I chose to be a soccer coach for a living, So like, I'm not making any money, and but I get to do exactly like the best my favorite thing in life outside of my family is soccer and being around kids and coaching a team and organizing a team. And so I get to do that every day. So because of that, like I want it to be fun, and it doesn't mean there's not going to be hard times and the grind of it at times in season. And we're going to push really, really hard. We're going to work as a staff really hard. Our players are going to work hard. And it's not always the most enjoyable when you're in those moments of incredible hard work. But hopefully the rewards will be very, very enjoyable and fun. But I think one thing that makes our team special is like our guys are super competitive and also super goofy. They know when to have a good time. They know that it's okay to laugh. They know that it's okay to get after each other in training and, maybe talk a little smack to each other and push things. And that's important for us because at the end of the day, this is like, I get to coach a game for a living. So fun has to be part of it. Otherwise, what's the point of doing any of this?
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Coach, you've been generous with your time. I always like to end on this question, and that's what didn't we talk about? What else is there that you would like to convey to recruits, whether it's about the college soccer recruiting process, about your school, or anything else in general? I'd like to leave you with the last word.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, and thanks for having me. I think the college soccer recruiting process can be daunting and scary, and my advice there, and we do this when we go work camps and host our own camps and talk to players and families, is there's no exact science to this. Every player is going to have their own path and their own journey. Don't be stressed by your teammate or teammates, figuring out their journey before you do. And I think one thing for me is I think make sure you find the right fit and the best fit. I think as we kind of alluded to earlier, the transfer portal is such a massive thing, and there's so many kids that are in the transfer portal these days. So do your due diligence, do your homework, find the best fit. Don't try to pick your school based on the one Instagram post where you're going to be wearing a sweatshirt and not realizing that you're not going to see the field for the next 3 years, and you're going to be looking to transfer and all of those things. Find the right fit, find the school that fits you the best, find the program where you can actually feel a real part of it and play. I think that's a big piece is finding a school where you can actually play, because most kids want to play. Most kids don't want to just sit on the bench for 4 years, and they're obviously we all have rosters to fill, and people need to, people will always be on the bench. But I think too many kids just end up at the wrong place, the wrong level, however they're being pushed there from their parents or their clubs or whatever. So just find the right fit and find a place where you can actually play, and you'll be the happiest.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Coach, I really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck in the fall, and hopefully you can bring home that NESCAC championship here in 2023.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See ya.